welcome to this week's edition of the Dean Close Book Club. And today I'm going to be looking at Patricia Highsmith's 1955 novel, Talented Mr. Ripley. For most people, this is probably best known from the 1999 film adaptation by Anthony Minghella, which is beautifully filmed. I think I'm right in saying it did win an Oscar or two. Matt Damon plays Tom Ripley, Jude Law, Dickie Greenleaf, and Gwyneth Paltrow, Marge Sherwood. And these are the central characters in this psychological crime thriller. Tom Ripley is a bit of a sort of dropout and failure, and he's unexpectedly approached in New York by a very wealthy American businessman called Herbert Greenleaf, who it just so happens that Tom Ripley earlier in his life had known his son, Dickie. And Dickie had sort of almost in a modern version of the Grand Tour of Europe, had gone to Europe with financed by his father's incredible wealth, and stayed in Italy because he loved the lifestyle so much. And now his father, Mr. Greenleaf, wants him to return to the family business. So Tom is paid and commissioned to try and get Dickie to return to America. For a number of years, Tom has been working really as well, not working, but parading as a sort of a con artist and confidence trickster. He's all too keen to take up this offer as an all expenses paid excursion to Italy. So he goes to Mongebello, a fictional town on the Amalfi Coast, and finds Dickie. They renew their sort of acquaintance, and Tom really sort of falls in love with Dickie's bohemian lifestyle. He's working as a painter, slightly decadent lifestyle, sunbathing, cocktails, the sort of jazz scene at the time, and he really, some would argue, falls in love with Dickie himself, but certainly falls in love with his wealth and lifestyle. And as their relationship develops, he tries to manipulate that so that he is seen by Dickie as his ally. He confesses why he's visiting him and gradually begins to assume his personality. And I don't want to give too much away, but I'm just going to read a sort of a passage to whet your appetite, because that really is the driving force behind most of the novel, what actually happens because of this unhealthy fascination. This is fairly early on in the novel, probably about 3 or 4 weeks after Tom and Dickie have met. He went up to Dickie's room and paced around for a few moments, his hands in his pockets. He wondered when Dickie was coming back, or was he going to stay and make an afternoon of it? He jerked Dickie's closet door open and looked in. There was a freshly pressed, new-looking grey flannel suit that he had never seen Dickie wearing. Tom took it out. He took off his knee-length shorts and put on the grey flannel trousers. He put on a pair of Dickie's shoes, and he opened the bottom drawer of the chest and took out a clean blue and white striped shirt. He chose a dark blue silk tie and knotted it carefully. The suit fitted him. He reparted his hair and put the part a little more to one side, the way Dickie wore his. "Marge, you must understand that I don't love you," Tom said into the mirror in Dickie's voice, with Dickie's higher pitch on the emphasised words, with a little growl in his throat at the end of the phrase that could be pleasant or unpleasant, intimate or cool, according to Dickie's mood. "Marge, stop it." Tom turned suddenly to make a grab in the air, as if he was seizing Marge's throat. He shook her, twisted her, and when she sank lower and lower until, at last, he left her, limp on the floor. He was panting. He wiped his forehead, the way Dickie did, reached for a handkerchief and, not finding any, got one from Dickie's top drawer, and then resumed in front of the mirror. Even his parted lips looked like Dickie's lips. When he was out of breath from swimming, drawn down a little from his lower teeth. "You know why I had to do that," he said, still breathlessly, addressing Marge. though he watched himself in the mirror. You are interfering between Tom and me. No, not that. But there is a bond between us. He turned, stepped over the imaginary body, and went stealthily to the window. He could see beyond the bend of the road the blurred slant of the steps that went up to Marge's house's level. Dickie was not on the steps, or on the parts of the road that he could see. Tom darted back to the closet again and took a hat from the top shelf. It was a little grey Tyrolean hat with a green and white feather in the brim. He put it on rakishly. It surprised him how much he looked like Dickie, with the top part of his head covered. Really, it was only his darker hair that was very different from Dickie. Otherwise, his nose, or at least its general form, his narrow jaw, his eyebrows, if he held them right. What are you doing? Tom whirled around. Dickie was in the doorway. Well, you can see there the beginnings of this obsession with Tom assuming Dickie's character, and it really makes for an incredibly complex plot where Tom has to constantly lie and manipulate situations in order to survive, both in terms of his friendship with Dickie, but later on, as the novel develops, with Dickie's friends and eventually the authorities. So I hope I haven't given too much away, but it's a novel that is sort of set in on the Amalfi Coast, in Naples, in Venice. So with this fine weather, I thought it was a good choice for a summer read. So if you want a really fascinating, brilliantly crafted and plotted murder mystery with a very, very sinister central character, I'd very much recommend Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley.